Hello, everyone. I'm the Bodacious Cowboy with my co-host, Christy Knichel. Are you ready for a special edition of the Storytelling Chronicles? We are. Let's go.
Look out! Pop, pop, it's showtime. Showtime. Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. Oh, they don't know. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. Showed up. I'm wearing Cuban links. Yeah. Designer mix. Yeah. Inglewood's finest shoes. Whoop, whoop. Don't look too hard, might hurt yourself. Known to give the color red the blues.
Hello, everyone. I am the Bodacious Cowboy with my co-host, Christy Knichel. Welcome to another segment of the Storytelling Chronicles, Empowering Women into Logistics. We have a great guest today, Dan Lindsay. You may or may not know him. I would probably bet the house that you do. Christy, how are you?
I'm doing awesome and coming to you from Omaha today.
That's awesome. And I know that you flew out yesterday. Is it hot over there?
Yes, it is very hot over here. So, but I've been in my hotel room all day working until I have my event tonight. So
that's awesome. What are you doing this week?
Just talking with the Union Pacific the next couple days, and then I'll be back in town catching up and working on the business. So,
yeah. You know what? Before we bring in Dan, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about Dan?
Yeah, awesome. So Dan has over 20 years of experience in logistics and supply chain. He was the co-founder of Linkage Logistics, a company that provides innovative and customized solutions for transportation and warehousing needs. He just recently sold the company in May so he could focus on the Broker Carrier Summit, which he just founded in January of last year. And we are super excited to talk to him about that and what that's doing for the industry. A little bit more about Dan, though, as well. As a sales leader, a platoon surgeon, and entrepreneur, he has developed very strong skills in leadership, management, training, and communication. He is very passionate about building customer-focused relationships and dynamic teams that deliver value and quality. He also has a background in finance and a bachelor's from Indiana University, Purdue University at Indianapolis. So why don't we bring him in?
Awesome. Dan, how are you, sir?
Hey, good afternoon. How are you guys?
We are doing well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, doing great.
I apologize if I'm loud. My my AirPods are kind of on the fritz right now. So.
Oh, you're perfect. No problem.
You are perfect.
At least the people will be more clear and better, right?
Exactly. I've never had a problem being heard, unfortunately.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing too, for sure. For sure. So how you been? What's going on?
Oh, a lot. I've been really busy. I thought that by transitioning away from the freight brokerage, my workload would decrease. And it did for like maybe 3 days. And I got restless. So we started doing a lot of new initiatives with the summit and expanding the network. We have a lot of really cool, really exciting things that are going to be coming down the pipe in the next 3 to 4 months leading up to Fort Worth. So I'm excited about it.
Hey, can you share a little?
I can. So I can share hints. So we just brought on our 6th director, our board of directors, Mr. Kevin Hill of Brush Pass Research. And if you know anything about Kevin's background in media, that should give you a little bit of an indication as to a direction that we're headed. One of the goals of the summit and the network that we're trying to build is actually the big goal is reconciling broker carrier relationships, right?
Yeah.
And one of the biggest ways in which we try to do that is through education. Mm-hmm. And you can't just educate people twice a year and expect meaningful, lasting, ongoing change. And so we're going to be rolling some things out throughout the year that are going to enhance the value the summit brings to our attendees and our membership network. So
I think that's great. I will say my brother attended the last one, and one of the things he focuses on our company is procurement with carriers. And I think he loves the fact that it's in a different city, because then you're going to meet different carriers from the different cities. Because I don't know if some of them travel out of state, but I would assume most of them might be in that area. I don't know if that's the case, but that's at least what he was telling me about.
Yeah,
It
actually came from all over the place. Not to steal Dan's thunder, but we had carriers from your neck of the woods in Pennsylvania and Western Pennsylvania that came down there. They came from North Carolina, Illinois. I mean, all over the place. At least who I spoke with and made relations right then. They were coming from all over.
Yeah, they came from all over the place, and that's been the theme since day one, since our first one-day symposium in Indianapolis, is that this is a national conversation and people are interested. Give me 1 second. I hate to do this. I'm going to silence my notifications because I forgot to do that. And I'm getting the joys of live broadcasting here. I apologize for that.
No worries.
Carriers have been coming from all over. We do see, however, a number of carriers, specifically in the last 3 weeks leading up to the events, signing up who are local. So in the 3 weeks leading up to the Kansas City Summit in April, out of the 360 people we had attend, I think it was something like 140 people signed up, and many of them were from Kansas City or the surrounding area. And so we're trying to get on kind of a circuit where we hit the Midwest in the spring, we go down to the Southeast, we go back to the Midwest, and then go to the Southwest to get as many people involved as possible, especially when it comes to drivers, because drivers can't take a week to go off, to a conference over the road. It's not financially feasible for them to do so.
Question, would there ever be an opportunity for virtual option? Just because I've been on events where people can't make it, and then you can have virtual round tables maybe for the carriers or whatnot that can attend.
We actually tried this in Tampa, and I think disaster was the word that we have decided to give it. It did not work out tremendously. We considered it in Kansas City. And I think our thought on that is, until we have a solid framework that we can execute at about 95% perfection with 100% confidence, I don't know that we'll roll that out until we have that. We will get there, but it's not yet. Gotcha.
Yeah, no problem. I was just trying to think of the carrier, because you are right. A lot of them they can't take off. They might not be able to get there.
But I have to add, truckparking.com has actually created facilities for drivers to actually drive in and park pretty close to the event. So we're making it available for everyone, even if they're on the road, maybe they got a little bit of downtime, want to connect with brokers or their fellow carriers or drivers. We're able to do that now, where we weren't able to do that in the past. I think the last time was it was in Tampa that it started in Tampa, right? And then we went to Kansas City, and now we'll have something in Fort Worth for sure.
Yeah, and we tried to roll that out in Kansas City. We had a few adopters of it. We saw a couple of trucks out there taking advantage of that. But I'm trying to get a meeting with Evan at Truck Parking Club to begin conceptualizing where the lots are going to be and how we can roll that out in the next couple of days. So hopefully we'll hear more about that. But on that note too, with the difficulty of drivers and carriers coming to the summit, again, stay tuned. We are revamping our website presence. And a part of that is going to be a piece of continuing education that also provides the content from previous summits that people have attended to them in between summits. So if you sign up for the summit and aren't able to go, or you sign up for the summit and you only got a chance to go to 5 sessions because you were networking your ass off, right?
Pretty much.
Then which is again, do that. But if you miss some sessions, you don't have to worry about missing the content, you can log in, and if you're a member of our network, you can re-access that content. So,
love it. That's awesome. So yeah, I think one of the things we can start off with, I know you just talked a little bit about the Broker Carrier Summit, but can you talk about why you decided to sell your company that you've built and why your passion is now in this arena and what that means to the industry?
Yeah, well, to begin that story, I have to go back to 2019 as to why I decided to get back into brokerage in the first place. Because I had been in brokerage until 2019, went to work for a consulting company, and then had a moment of insanity and got back into freight brokerage. But the reason why I did was because I saw the issues that the industry was having as kind of an outsider from freight brokerage for a year. I was able to witness it. And so I got back in to actually make a difference, specifically when it came to how carriers and brokers relate to each other. And one of the things that we really drove home in the early days of linkage, and this was true all the way through, even that last month or so, is we want to be a broker that carriers choose to work with. And one of the ways we do that is by treating carriers like business partners, like people with equal dignity, value, and worth that we have. We expect a lot from them, and they should expect a lot from us. And so that worked out really well for us. We had fantastic carrier relationships. We had partners in our carriers that would send us prospects, shippers, to get into because they didn't have a sales guy, but they always got stuck in this one city and they needed to get out. And so they would send us leads, and they would help, enhance our sales processes like that. So the reason why after 4 years I rotated away from the brokerage was twofold. One, because the summit has absolutely just exploded onto the scene in a really big way. And to be frank, we didn't know in the beginning what it was going to be. We just thought we were going to, build a workshop lasting maybe 4 or 8 hours. People would get something good out of it, but it has absolutely taken on a life of its own. And you only have so many hours in the day. And so I got to a point around March where I was feeling like I was doing multiple things, but not one of them was I doing optimally well. And so that was primarily behind my decision to rotate into doing the summit full time.
Yeah. Go ahead, Christy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I love that because I think, at my company, our niche is intermodal, but one of the most important things that we had to do was build those carrier partnerships from the beginning when no one really talked about it, because at the end of the day, like, not only do they rely on you, but we rely on them, and we do the same thing where they give us potential leads as well, or maybe business that they lost, and because they like working with our company. And it's a huge thing, I think, when you have that partnership and relationship with those carriers, because there is a huge disconnect in the industry in general. There's a lot of bad brokers out there, but there's also a lot of good brokers out there that want to do the right thing and that are doing the right thing. So I think it's extremely important what you're doing. And I hope everyone that's listening attends Dan's, broker carrier summits across the country, because I think it's going to be life-changing.
It is. And, the one thing I have to say is that you're absolutely right, Christy, about the good brokers, the good carriers, but it's the unethical ones that give the really good guys a really bad name. And that's one of the reasons why, and I'm not trying to steal Dan's thunder because I know it, it's that there's a huge discrepancy and misunderstanding between the two entities, being brokers and carriers. And we must not forget about the shipper as well, because they're actually involved in this, whether they like it or not. And what happens is that they don't trust each other. And what Dan built here is to get them from out here to here, to have a mutual understanding how each operations work and why they do the things that they do, so that they have a better understanding, they can communicate more. And that's what it's about. I mean, there's a lack of communication that's out there. It starts with the shipper. It goes to the broker, and the broker doesn't hand off to the carrier what was told to him, because margins or whatever, we're talking about transparency. We're talking about collaboration. We're talking about congruency, because we all know that all prospects out there are not good prospects. All carriers out there are not good carriers. Same with brokers and same with shippers. You have to be able to choose and choose wisely if you want to move the industry forward. And that's why we're trying to get rid of the scumbags. That's what they are. There's one thing when you come to, there you go. And there's one thing that I can tell you right now. When you go to the Broker Carrier Summit, there won't be one scumbag there, because God help them if one of those show up. They walked into the wrong event.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's an entire event that's designed to expose them for who they are. Like, they're not going to go. It's like, that's the last place on earth they would want to go to. So
No.
It's a natural vetting system.
Yes. And the other thing too, it's unlike any event out there, because there's no booths, there's no selling, there's none of that. It's all engagement, it's all learning, it's all sharing, it's understanding. Now, when Dan built this board, there is a woman who's on his board, Dawn, who started Green Screens. Let's talk about the No Bro event. We've all heard it out there, Dan. We've talked about it a gazillion %. This is not a bro show, okay? It is open to anybody that wants to come. There are a plethora of women that do show up, that do share, that do present, that are on panels. Let's talk about that a little bit, Dan, and what you're trying to do to promote more women to get involved into logistics, not just into logistics, but also in the Broker Carrier Summit.
Yeah, so I want to state right off the bat that I think women are better logisticians than men in general, hands down. And I may be saying that because I absolutely suck at multitasking. But women, the way their minds work, you put everything together with everything else. That's what logistics is all about anyway. So when it comes to working with women in the industry, I think they are a fantastic fit for the industry, because they see literally everything, and their minds put it together much better than men do in general. We're just kind of one singular focus. We have one thing, we're doing one thing, and then when we forget about that one thing, we move to the other one. So I think,
or they'll remind you of it.
What's that?
Or they'll remind you of what you forgot.
or they'll gently remind us of it. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And I part of the reason is that I'm excited about this program and this movement with women in logistics in general is I'm a husband, I have a wife, I have 2 daughters, and I love the fact that they can look into the industry that I'm working in and see that there are opportunities for women to advance, not only advance, but absolutely thrive in this industry. That's one of the reasons why we try and look for as many women speakers and women coordinators as possible, because again, one, they are very, very good at coordinating events. Their minds work in a different way than men's do, and that's a benefit. That's an absolute asset that they have, and I want my daughters and my wife to see that. In fact, my wife was a woman in logistics because she ran the accounting team at Linkage for 3 years.
Wow,
So
that's right. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And like, speaking of that, so obviously we want to get more women attending the Broker Carrier Summit, and I don't know how many women have been there. Obviously, I didn't attend the last one, but I know a few that have been, and bless you, by the way.
thank you, sir.
Yes, bless you.
And then, so like, what would a woman benefit from coming in there, from career development, mentorship, access to industry leaders? Because I do feel like it's going to continue to like build upon every single event that you have. Do you feel that it's going to be challenging? Are you talking to women that are coming there and, asking them, hey, are you able to reach out to other women? How can we get the word out? That type of thing.
Yeah, so I've actually, one of the things that we've done on the heels of Kansas City is our event manager, Courtney, has sent out to everyone who has attended the summit in the past a Dan wants to connect with you email. And so in the last 8 weeks, I've probably had over 75 or 80 meetings with past attendees. And what I've noticed is almost half of the respondents to that have been women.
Awesome.
Because women are very interested and engaged in giving feedback, productive feedback, constructive feedback, but they are seemingly taking the reins and wanting to make this industry better. Not that the men don't, but their voice is wanted, and they want their voice to be heard. And so we've had tremendous feedback from the women that we have talked to, whether they're on the carrier side or the broker side or the tech side, about how we can improve the summits, how to build the network. And I'm excited to see more women get involved over the years. There's a woman that I talked to the other day who is involved in Women in Trucking, and has invited us out there to participate in the Women in Trucking show. And then we're going to try and get out there in November as well.
So I think that that's awesome. I mean, first of all, to get the feedback, right? Women do want to be heard. So I think it's great that you're reaching out and having those conversations. But I also think, like, Women in Trucking, from going to those events in my past life, I haven't been to one in maybe 4 years, but I do know there's a huge driver presence for women that are, driving, that are there attending on top of other women in the industry in general, but a lot come from carriers that typically attend that event. So I do think that would actually be a good way to get some more visibility to bringing women into the summits, because I think that is a crucial part of growing that for you. Have you found that any of the women that you have talked to, like, want to be a part of this, or asking how can they be a part of helping you with this and wanting to speak and those things?
Yes. And specifically the Kansas City Summit would not be the success that it was without a select handful of women. One of them is Dawn Salvucci Favier on our board. The other ones are Natalia from Beta Consulting Group, Jessie Thomas, she's now over at Highway, Audrey Song, she was at Movement for a while, and she rotated out of the industry in midpoint of the year. But they actually volunteered their time and their efforts to help us with detail-oriented things like signage coordination, room scheduling, those kinds of things. And they just wanted to have a hand in it, and they jumped in with both feet. And without them, it would not have been as coordinated as it was.
So, question real quick, I guess, to dive a little bit deeper. So what is some of the feedback that you got from the women that you feel was important, or maybe something you didn't think about, in regards to maybe the women that have been there and what their thoughts of it?
Yeah, one of the biggest pieces of positive feedback we received from women was the quality of the conversations that they had was far and away better than almost any other event they've been to in recent memory. Because again, when we build these events and when we're building the BCS network, we build everything around 2 words: intentionality and authenticity. And those are 2 words that are sorely lacking a lot of times in not just in logistics, but in the commercial area in general, in the commercial world in general. We're very intentional about what we do and why we do it and how we do it. And the level of authenticity that comes through in the conversations and cooperation in the conversations that happen at the summit, one, leads to more business being transacted, we found, and 2, leads to a better overall positive experience that people want to come back to again and again.
Yeah, I love that, because I want to say, like, there's not a whole lot of events, like, unless you go to the trucking shows, right, to meet carriers direct, that carriers are going to show up to. And I go to the TIA every year. And this past year, there was actually carriers there, I feel like, for the first time. Well, not for the first time. There are some that go because they're brokers too, but carriers specifically asking, like, are you a broker? Can we talk about doing business together? So I think this is a great platform, again, for that to continue to happen. And I think it's great that women have given you feedback on how good the conversations were. I can tell you my brother said the same thing. I mean, he hasn't even gotten through the whole list of carriers that he met and talked with there as well. So I think it's a very positive outcome.
Yeah, well, something else I want to highlight too. The women that we have speak at the summit. We have. I just want to shout out Melanie Patterson,
Yeah.
just absolute rock star. I'm sure you guys are. I mean, Jeff, I know you know her,
Yeah.
but just the role models that we're putting in front of people, again, are intentional. We had Melanie, Meg Williams with RTS was there. Speaking in Kansas City, Savannah Moore at Convoy Systems, Melissa, I think she's over at Express Logistics. I spoke with her the other day. Just trying to give people a platform to share what they've learned, share what they know, build their own personal brands, and again, give people, specifically give women, something to shoot for and a possibility of mentorship in the industry.
Yeah. And I just saw my brother just commented, so he's definitely watching. And it changes location, so it allows others to attend, like how we first talked about that on the beginning of the show. I think that's important because then you hit all the different markets.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, and one thing I can say is that, when you do go to the BCS, you don't see women collaborating with women. It's mixed. They're collaborating with everybody that's there. It's not just because, there were more men than women there, but there were a lot of women, but you didn't see them gravitating towards their gender. They were going to others and they were sharing, war stories, problems, trying to find solutions, trying to find options, trying to build new relationships with them. I mean, Dan, talk a little bit about the lunch and learn that you had that nobody else out there is doing, and why it's so beneficial for everybody.
Yeah, so Lunch and Learn became Lunch and Lanes at the BCS in Kansas City, which it was kind of like the Broker Carrier Summit. It was a harebrained idea that we kind of just went off half cocked just because it sounded like it was a good idea. But it was absolutely just wonderful to see. What we did was we took the main ballroom and we divided it up into 4 sections, and we identified the sections as van, reefers, flatbeds, and other, just to kind of see where people landed. And if you were a broker or a carrier who moved van freight, for instance, you were in the top left-hand corner of the ballroom for lunch. And so you're able to interact with brokers and other carriers that ran similar freight to you to collaborate on lanes. Same for reefers, same for flatbeds, step decks. We had a couple of drayage and intermodal carriers there as well. But that was actually one of the biggest highlights specifically for the carriers, because the last day of the event, I was walking out and trying to get everything cleaned up, and I had 4 or 5 people come to me from different carriers saying, "Hey, thank you for the event. We really appreciated it. By the way, Lunch and Lanes yesterday, I talked with a broker. I already have 2 trucks over the road with that broker today." From a lunch conversation, because again, it's those intentional moments where you sit down on purpose to have a conversation on purpose. It's a lot different than going to a happy hour after a long day of sessions,
right?
And my only intention there is to drink and have a drink and just rest and unwind. I'm not there to have necessarily intentional conversations. If I happen to, that's fantastic. But I want to relax. I want to unwind. Everything we do at the summit is with the intention of, hey, how can we help you grow your business?
Yep.
Whether you're a broker, carrier, driver, owner, operator, whatever.
Yeah, that's great. Well, hey, I feel like this is moving along really fast, but we have to go to our sponsors real quick. So we're going to take a little break and start with that. So our first sponsor is TAFS, Inc., which provides transportation factoring solutions to boost profits and increase cash flow for small and medium-sized companies. Contact TAFS at tafs.com to elevate your financial success.
Trucking excellence meets unparalleled service. Enjoy exclusive benefits like our fantastic tire discounts. Need cash fast? Try our 1-hour advances. Plus, we're here for you 365 days a year. Need loads? We have a pro dispatch service. This is why TAFS was recognized as the top factoring company in 2023. You'll benefit from strategic partnerships for enhanced operations. Access business loans and manage your finances easily with our client portal, F2 Fuel Card, and mobile app. At TAFS Factoring, we're more than just a factoring company. We're your partner in success. Contact us today to see how we can help your trucking business thrive.
Our next sponsor is Freight Validate, the ultimate identity and compliance verification system for the logistics industry. Freight Validate empowers shippers, brokers, carriers, and more to ensure compliance and regulations and mitigate fraud risks. With Freight Validate, you can easily verify entities' compliance status and identify potential threats within minutes. Don't risk your business with unverified carriers or brokers. Choose Freight Validate for peace of mind. Learn more at freightvalidate.com and start your verification process today.
Freight Validate, revolutionizing identity and compliance verification for shippers, brokers, and motor carriers with cutting-edge technology. Now, experience the power of voice-activated information retrieval with Siri and Alexa. Hey Siri, check Freight Validate.
Sure, what's the MC number?
387211.
The company Direct Expedite LLC is a broker and is freight validated. Company ownership has completed facial recognition verification. Basic company identity verification, risk assessment, and compliance info has been verified by freightvalidate.com. Please follow company protocols for additional safety and compliance vetting. For more information, please go to freightvalidate.com.
Freight Validate ensures complete access to our state-of-the-art identity and compliance verification system. Speed, accuracy, and savings all in one package. Don't miss out. Upgrade to Freight Validate today. Fraud starts with fraud. It ends with Freight Validate.
And our last sponsor is Thai TMS. They simplify freight management for brokers, offering an all-in-one platform for quoting, booking, and tracking shipments. Learn more at thaisoftware.com.
Brokering, success demands a battle-ready strategy. Thai TMS equips brokers with the ultimate battle station for conquering a tough market. With Thai, brokers gain access to a comprehensive platform where rate intelligence and quote history converge on a single screen. It's not just a page. It's a strategic command center designed to help brokers win. Thai equips your team with all the data they need to negotiate with confidence and allows them to communicate directly with carriers and customers from a simple control base. Revolutionize the way your brokers perform by giving them a competitive advantage with Thai TMS. For more info, scan the QR code or go to thai-software.com/battlestation.
Welcome back, Dan. There you go. Hey, so as we continue our conversations, can you elaborate a little bit more on what women can expect at the Fort Worth, Texas event come October 23rd through the 25th?
Yes, one of the things that we are really excited about is the fact that, again, the summit has been a place for feedback to be received well. As we are rolling out our promotion of the event, specifically to carriers, one of the things we're rolling out is make your voice heard. So often in any industry, but in trucking specifically, I think that people feel their voice gets drowned out by all the noise. And so one of the things that we're excited about, that we're really pushing for, is for people to be able to have the confidence, have the comfortability with the people that are at the summit with them, to speak their mind, to make their voice heard, because some of the best ideas die in darkness, because they don't ever get a chance to be spoken or to be brought up. So you expect your voice to be appreciated and heard. Also, again, the networking that we offer at the summit, I think, and I'm a little biased, but I think is second to none in the industry. because it's focused on how can we add immediate value to your business. So if you are a female business owner, owner-operator, own a brokerage, whatever it is, our focus is to get you in front of people who are going to impact your business in a positive way as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I think that that's extremely important. And again, I think having that space, like even starting this podcast, for instance, there's a lot of people that don't typically get on podcasts. They don't get asked. And I think it's just your everyday person, even that's working in the industry. Let's hear from you. Let's see how you're doing things and how you can make an impact. Because a lot of times that people just aren't heard. And I think that this is a great platform for that to happen. Do you see in the future, because I know this is still new and you're building this out, but do you see in the future of this becoming such a huge event too, where you start building out, I don't want to say like mentoring and stuff, because a lot of people, they'll meet people that they can work with and do that. But almost like a service where they have a platform that you can go on and find all the carriers that are involved with your summit, all the 3PLs, and kind of match, so to speak, based on like needs?
Yes, and stay tuned.
Yeah, I guess I haven't come up with anything great.
Jeff, you've been sharing some of the confidential information that we talked about, haven't you?
Actually, he has
I have not said a word, Dan. My lips are zipped.
Hey, listen, as a business owner myself, I'm just thinking of things that I feel could help you if you're not already thinking about them, but clearly you are. So I think that's great.
And I love the fact that's being asked, because, well, and to be honest and to be fair, that's been a common question. How can we continue this? How can we build on this? Can I do this? Can we do that? And so the things that we're building, it's not like we're just like thinking, hey, what else can we do? That's just add services, right? The things that we're building are direct results from the feedback that we've gotten. So one of the things, and this is in the works, I don't know if I have the ability to share a timeline currently, but one of the things I would love to do is within the BCS network, again, we're going to be moving at some point in the next few months to a subscription-based membership website. That's one of the big announcements that I'll make here. Subscription-based membership network, which will come with a whole host of benefits for members or subscribers, we'll call them, including a comparison tool. So say if you're a carrier and you want to look at fuel cards and you don't know which fuel card to choose, we're going to have a list of 3 or 4 of our partner fuel cards that are friendly with the summit, that we've vetted, that we know of very, very well, and we can help them select a fuel card in that way. Also, when it comes to brokers and carriers working together, if you're a broker who's affiliated with the network, we want you to do well. If you're a carrier affiliated with the network, we want you to do well, and we want both parties to do well together. And so I don't know what form it looks like, but we are going to have, I would say at the very latest, by our spring summit next year, a fully functioning mechanism by which carriers and brokers can share information throughout the year, whether it's load data or capacity data or whatever it is, where they can stay in touch and they can use it as something a term that I coined in Tampa last year, a preferred provider network, where, again, we don't want you to come to the summit only to meet new people. We want you to come to the summit to meet your best freight friends, right? The people that you do the best business with. And so, yes, that is in the works as we speak.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I really didn't know about that, but I think that is so important, because you're building that network by doing this. And how do these people stay in touch other than, you say you stay in touch outside, but having a platform, even if you could chat with them in there or whatever. I'm just involved in a lot of other things that do some of this stuff. So I had to ask. Sorry, Dan.
I appreciate it. Again, there's a reason why that question exists, is because that's a need, right?
It is a need. And I think having like the preferred network, like you said, like it's truly building those partnerships out and carriers that truly want to work with brokers that have business that they can't tap into. And it's a win-win for both sides.
Yeah.
See, Dan, now you understand why I chose Christy to be my co-host.
Yes,
See?
absolutely.
She's smart. She's smart. I didn't say a word. I'm just telling you.
She gets you're fine.
I'm sure.
Jeff is one of the people in this industry who I would trust with any information. So
Yeah.
No, so don't blame me if she comes up with another zinger, Dan. All right?
I mean, that shows obviously you're on top of your game because you know what the need is out there. Not that we didn't think you did, but like that's awesome that you're already that step ahead thinking of these things. And that's going to make even more people want to be involved in it and continue to come back, like you said, getting value out of it.
That's the hope. And this has been a really interesting last year because the BCS network it's a grassroots movement.
Absolutely.
I've talked to a number of people who have tried to do something similar to this in the past and have not. It's not gotten traction. And one of the reasons it didn't get a lot of traction was because they tried to go through the organizations to get the members involved. Nothing against the organizations. The organizations are fantastic networks and mediums for companies to engage in industry best practices, to meet each other. But I think a lot of times, especially in freight, it's such a fragmented industry. You almost anything you do in freight almost has to be grassroots, I think, especially on the carrier side.
Yeah.
Because more than anything, your word is worth more than anything. And if you're a driver on the road and you've been to this event and you actually got value out of it, then you're gonna share that. If you absolutely didn't get value out of it, you will absolutely share that bad experience with all of your friends on the road. So I think grassroots is the best way to create change in the freight industry.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good point. So go ahead, Jeff. Do you have something?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, when you look at Indy and we had 75 people that showed up there, I believe when we went to Tampa, it was 225. We went to Kansas City, a little north of 350, somewhere around that. I mean, we're going to be over like 500, probably close to 600, if not more. I would bet the house on it. And the only reason that happens is that when people go there, they witness what happens there, what's being discussed, the topics, the agenda. When people start engaging with each other and sharing knowledge and giving options and solution, that word of mouth is the best type of word of mouth that you can have in the industry because it travels faster than the internet. I'm telling you, that's why it's grassroots. It's growing that way. People like what we're showing, the topics, the agenda, and they're discussing it. So those of you that are out there that have anything negative to say about it, who never attended the BCS, I hate to tell you this, but you're wrong. You're definitely wrong. And if you came to the event, you would understand really quickly what it's all about, and it would change your mind in a snap. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
Speaking of that too, like I know Jeff brought up shippers in the beginning. Is that something that you see getting involved down the road, like trying to tap into shippers as well and being involved in the conversation?
It's something that we've talked about. I don't know that we have a clear pathway to make that work without fundamentally changing the dynamic of what the Broker Carrier Summit is about. There's definitely a place for shippers in the broker carrier conversation. I think from a vision perspective, we're trying to still figure out where that fits and what role shippers can play in the event specifically, but also in our network at large. One of the things that I've thought about incorporating is inviting not necessarily the shipper, like the procurement teams from shippers themselves, but the private fleets of these larger companies, because they are drivers, they are carriers, but they also come at the broker carrier conversation from a shipper perspective,
Right.
from a hybrid perspective. And so I think that these private fleets of like your Targets or your Walmarts or your Amazons or whoever, they would add a different type of value that would build on the skill set and the knowledge base of our brokers and carriers to attend.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think one way, I was just thinking off the top of my head, is whether, like you talked about, those webinars, or maybe it's a panel that they talk about, where you have a carrier on a panel with a shipper and you talk about the situations that could be more beneficial or whatnot. But obviously, yeah, it's down the road. This is more important with the brokers and the carriers now.
Yeah. And we've had a couple of shippers at the summits to kind of feel out how those conversations would go, and they've been well received. And so I see us building on that methodically over time.
Yeah, and the reason I bring it up is I had a customer I was talking to a week ago, and you get through the whole sales pitch and what you're talking about, and then it's like, oh, you're a broker. And then I had to go into explain like our niche. Like, obviously we really try to sell the intermodal more, than anything. That's our niche. But at the same token, I just felt like that whole, oh, you're a broker. And it's like, well, that doesn't sound good.
Right.
So there's a communication there, I think, that needs to happen.
Yeah. And I can tell you right now, being a shipper at one time, because some scumbag out there left a bad taste in that shipper's mouth. And that's probably one of the reasons why. So he's just saying, if you're a broker, I dealt with brokers, they're all the same, which is garbage. It's absolute garbage. And to get back to what Dan was saying earlier, at the last summit, Samantha Jones brought in a shipper and had a conversation, not a panel or anything like that, but she was in the main ballroom, and she was asking those type of questions that brokers and carriers really need to know. And I kind of understood that side of it, because you know what, no matter which way you look at it, the way the industry turns and burns, it starts with a shipper somewhere in the country, internationally. If the shipper wasn't involved, then we wouldn't be moving freight. Somebody has to engage into a broker or directly with an asset to move their freight, and that starts the trigger mechanism across there. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to help brokers and carriers. Just imagine this. Put yourself in a shipper's chair, and you go to an event. Let's just say you happen to go to the event in Fort Worth. The way the market is right now, and everybody's trying to find freight, imagine how many hits the shipper's going to hit. Just imagine how many times he's up there on stage. They know who he is, know the company. He's going to get thousands. I don't care who he is or she is. They're going to get hammered with calls and emails and everything because they know they're big. And the thing is, we don't want to throw anybody under the bus. So when you're trying to look at this and make it worthwhile for the shipper, the broker, and the carrier, it takes a lot of thinking to do, because it's not that easy to bring them in that type of environment, because you're really exposing them to some problems that they probably don't want, because they're so inundated with the logistics operation that they manage day in and day out. That's the problem.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that I've been throwing around, and I haven't brought this up a lot because I'm still turning it over in my mind, I can see the BCS being a marketing tool for brokers and carriers to shippers on their behalf. Say, hey, these brokers and carriers are part of the Broker Carrier Summit network. That means they operate at a higher standard, and so we can become sort of like this additional marketing arm or an ambassador for our members or for our subscribers.
Where we can go right back, Dan, if you think about that, to the adage way back. I'm going a couple decades ago, when you had those status of preferred shipper, preferred carrier. That's what you want to try to do. You're marketing the best out there. So when shippers reach out to these people, they know they're authentic, that they're not scumbags, that they're verified, that you don't have to worry about the double brokering or the fraud or the theft, because these guys have been vetted like there's no tomorrow. And the BCS can kind of back them up, because we want good people to go to the BCS. Like I said, we keep on reiterating the fact, and that's why Dan and his crew created Certified Non-Scumbag. we want those shirts all over the place because we know we're dealing with really good people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that. So going back to a little bit of the community building that you're doing, but can you talk a little bit about why that is so important in networking for women in logistics? And do you have any other platforms or events that you attend yourself that you feel would be beneficial for other women in the industry besides the Broker Carrier Summit?
Yeah, I'm partial to the Broker Carrier Summit, but there are a lot of good events that that women can attend. I think if you're on the broker side, you have to go to TIA, just because the wealth of knowledge specific to brokers it's all in one place. And so I've had some of my most impactful conversations and business changing conversations at TIA with competitors, actually, who have become good friends. And so TIA is absolutely a must if you're on the broker side. I've heard good things about women in trucking. Like I said, I have not been yet myself. I'm looking forward to going in November to experience that. Any of the truck shows. I know Texas Truck Show was the last month, I believe it was, and then Mid-America Truck Show. There's California Truck Show. Anywhere where you can go, where you can learn something. And unfortunately for events, a lot of times the only way you can figure out whether or not you're going to learn something is by going and experiencing it for the first time. And so I think if you're a user of a technology system, I know McLeod's user conference is fantastic. They go all out for all of their users, and there's a lot you can learn there, not just about their system, but about operational efficiencies in general. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that. I've been going to the TIA for a very long time and just came off the board myself. And it's interesting you say about like your community that you're building, because it's kind of the same with the TIA. Like if you're working with a company that's a member of the TIA, they kind of promote the same thing. Like you've kind of been vetted, like you're part of an organization that's, I don't want to say makes you more legit, but like, in a sense, like I think that's what they're trying to promote, right? Like you're one of those non-certified scumbag brokers, hopefully, being a part of that as well.
Now you're catching on.
yeah, I know, exactly. No, I think that's definitely important. So,
absolutely. And for the BCS network specifically, we are looking at forming a Women in Logistics panel. One of the things that we're trying to do is get as many people as involved as they want to be. And so we're going to have a broker advisory panel. We're going to have a carrier advisory panel. We want to have a women in logistics panel. We want to have a technology panel. We want to hear from everybody. And so we want it to be an environment where if you want your voice to be heard, we want to be able to get out of your way and allow that to happen.
Christy, you need to call Dan.
Hey, I'm always available, so that's a big part of my job, speaking and going.
It has nothing to do with this.
But it's not. You already have a lot of women though too that like are very well-known women that are attending this, and I've seen them post out there as well. And like I said, I have not been to one myself yet. My brother has been, just because he deals with the carriers direct himself. But yeah, I mean, I think that's great. And yeah, it's going to take some time for you to get all this rolled out, but I think it's really important. And all you women that are listening, get out there and head to the Broker Carrier Summit, because it's only going to help your business. Those partnerships are just huge. And I want to point out what you said too. It's not just with the carriers, but it is with your competitors.
Yes.
Having those conversations. And I mean, that's one of the things I did early on in my career that my dad taught me, is reaching out to the competition when nobody was, don't talk to those people. They're your competition. There was a time like that 20 some years ago, and now it's changed a bit. Yeah. And I think you grow more and learn more from talking to all these different companies, whether they're a competitor or not. Like, I think your business is going to grow regardless. So,
well, I hate to break this to everybody out there that's listening. The industry is $1 trillion industry. One guy is not going to take it, or one woman. There's going to be so much business out there for everybody. You need to talk to people, because I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. All of you out there aren't experts. There's no such thing as an expert, because if you're an expert, you're a know-it-all. That means you don't need to gain knowledge every single day or learn anything. All right. But I'm sorry, if you're not learning something new every single day, whether you're a man or woman, you're going to get lost in the shuffle really fast. I don't care if it's with carriers, if it's brokers, if it's technology, whatever it may be, you need to be on top of your game to win. There's a lot of money out there, and it's all for everybody. Engage with each other, collaborate, try to find likeliness in your niche or your vertical, and discuss. What's good for one may be good for the other. It's not true in all cases, but unless you talk and you chatter and you learn from each other, you're going to be stuck in the same place that you are right now. I guarantee it.
Yeah, that's definitely some good advice there, Jeff. So, Dan, are you looking to add any more, or you want to? I think it's probably good to also say who's all part of your board, who is all part of helping you build this out.
Yeah, so we mentioned Dawn Salvucci-Favier with Green Screens. She's our director of content. So she's in charge of in addition to keeping the board on task, that's her primary role, is keeping the rest of us on point. But also she's in charge of building out and coordinating the content, speakers, and all that. Then we have Trey Griggs with Beta Consulting Group. He is our director of all things marketing. Troy Wheaton with Leonard's Express is our director of carrier relations, and Robert Bain is our director of broker relations. And the new addition, the king of all media, Mr. Kevin Hill, is our director of media. So you'll be hearing much from Kevin and the team in the next 60 days. So
there you go.
No, I appreciate you sharing that, just so that everyone's aware if they're not already aware. It's definitely good. So, coming towards the end of the show, like, what piece of advice would you give, someone out there in the logistics industry coming into it, or if they're already in it, like what piece of advice?
Sounds cliche, but be a sponge. No, there is no corner on the market of good ideas, and you don't have them all. I don't have them all. If you are a leader in the space, if you are a business leader, and you lack humility, you are going to go nowhere fast. So be humble enough to learn, and ask questions before you jump to conclusions.
Yeah, I like that. There's a lot of assumptions that happen out there instead of having the conversation. So
Yeah,
now that's great advice. Like, we're super excited. Clearly, you could tell how excited Jeff is about the broker carrier. Yeah, I mean, putting that aside, though, again, I think this is an opportunity for all the people out there, but women in particular, to be a part of something and help be a part of something and be heard. So please make sure that you look up Dan and the Broker Carrier Summit and get involved.
Yeah, and if you want to get involved, let me know. I'm scheduling meetings left and right. I'm more than willing to have a conversation. And if you want to get involved, if you have some ideas, we'd love to listen. We'd love to hear and take it wherever it goes. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, appreciate it, Christy. Good to meet you finally.
Yeah, I know. It's been
Yeah, well, maybe she'll meet you at the BCS and on a phone call. I'm just saying.
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, you never know.
Yes, you never know. But hey, Dan, thanks for taking the time out of your busy day to join Christy and I. We really appreciate your insights and what you're doing at the Broker Carrier Summit, and it's all good. I know that it's gonna grow. I've seen it grow. I wasn't at the first one, but I was at every single one after that, and I plan to continue to help you grow that. And I know that you'll get more women involved. So if you're a woman out there and you want to get involved, like Dan said, reach out to him. He's on LinkedIn. He's pretty easy to find. Trust me, he really is. Or his team members. You can talk to Dawn if you feel more comfortable talking to Dawn at Green Screens. But reach out and get involved and learn. That's what this whole BCS is all about. So with that said, Dan, thanks again. I know we'll be talking soon. I hope that everybody enjoys the rest of their week. Until next time we go live, which will be in a couple of weeks. Continue to follow the Storytelling Chronicles Life Lessons Logistics, Empowering Women into Logistics. We go live every 2 weeks at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. With that said, the Bodacious Cowboy is out. We'll see you soon. Take care now.